Borderline here on Channel 5. We're glad you're with us today because we want to talk about something that's maybe a little bit off the beaten path for some of us. It's has to do with dealing with healing, dealing with doing things naturally. And we have with us from Austin, Texas, Beth Carpenter. Good morning,
Bob.
Beth.
How are you?
Glad to have you on the program.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
You are an intuitive counselor, among other things. You have many, many titles of what you do. What do you think your primary function in life is right now?
It's not really primary. To me, I do work under an umbrella because I am a naturopathic doctor as well as an intuitive counselor, so I do work with things intuitively even within the nutritional field.
Well, what's a naturopathic doctor?
Okay, that's good. A naturopathic doctor is somebody who looks at helping a person understand the healing process and how to go about that in a more healthy way. Now, it can incorporate diet, it can incorporate breathing exercise, it can incorporate light therapy or sound therapy. And it's about coming to a place of understanding yourself better too, because we get so used to expecting our answers to come from other people, whether it's the doctor or our mother or our father or our teacher or our boss or our wife or our husband, that somehow we forget to
look within ourselves.
Look within ourselves, yeah.
Now, you have survived 2 different episodes with cancer.
Yes, it was the same type of cancer.
Which was?
A 4th-stage, poorly differentiated lymphoma. I was actually diagnosed in 1983 after 4 months of testing. They finally had to go in for exploratory surgery, and during that time they did remove some lymph nodes that were malignant. And then I began a 10-year process of dealing with this diagnosis. And within that...
Self-introspection also during this time? Or?
Absolutely. You learn more about yourself during that time. You find out how strong you are, who's really there to support you, what you're willing to do or not do to get well. Working with people, I find that all the time. As people go, I ask them, that's one of the questions, what are you willing to do to get well? What are you willing to do? And they'll go, oh, I'm willing to do anything. And I said, well, you know, have you thought about this? And they go, oh, I couldn't do that. So you do find out.
Well, they pay lip service, but they don't necessarily want to follow through to some extent.
Exactly.
And now you survived a 2nd episode with cancer. You had it one time, and it was like in remission, or you beat it, and it came back a 2nd time.
Right, 4th stage for a 2nd time too, because when I was originally diagnosed, I only had 6 months to live, but yet I lived for 5 years before the 2nd relapse. And at the 2nd relapse, the first time it was just tumors in one area. The 2nd relapse, I had tumors everywhere.
All over your body? All
over my body. They could not count them. They were in my internal organs. I was told by the doctor, because I had chosen a different doctor, that I would be okay, that I would be able to get through this, because I did combine on the 2nd half of the journey a combination of traditional along with alternative. But I also had to have a doctor that believed in what I did too. And
well, what was some of the traditional and what was some of the alternative that you put together? I think people find this fascinating because, you don't look like you had anything wrong with you. I mean, today.
That's true. People think I've never had a sick day in my life, and I could probably fill this room with medical records. Alternatively, I did a nutritional program, very close to what's known as the natural hygiene program. I also did light therapy, working with colors to help heal the body, working with sound to heal the body. I incorporated chiropractic to keep the spine open and the circulation moving. I combined Rolfing, which helps to release trauma from the tissues, because there's parts of the tissue, I believe it's called the fascia tissue, that becomes rigid. That's where it holds memories, and that is loosened. So I used that. I used psychic surgery. I used H2O, or hydrogen peroxide therapy.
Well, what were some of the conventional things you blended in with this alternative?
In the beginning, I had the surgery, and I actually had the testing. We were just trying to figure out what it was. But then I walked away from that. And when I came back into the traditional, I did do 4 years of chemotherapy. And then I did go through a bone marrow transplant, which was done at Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. And during the bone marrow transplant, there was chemotherapy plus total body radiation, as well as harvesting my own marrow and then returning it to me.
Well, you've actually been through this whole thing almost from beginning to end, virtually every kind of therapy, both conventional and maybe alternative, that's out there right now you've been exposed to.
Yes, I have. There's a couple that I didn't do, but most of them I did.
But now you represent the exception rather than the rule, though, as far as most people are concerned, because most people will generally, accede to whatever their doctor recommends, or they'll reject their doctor and do nothing but alternative, or
Yeah, they don't know how to mix them, and one of the things I teach people is how to be the captain of their own ship. They're the director of their own life, and everybody's a team player. And it's not that you can only do traditional and you have to blacklist the medical, or you can only do medical and you have to blacklist the alternative. It's about integrating that, and if what you want to do is alternative, fantastic. And what they've actually found, starting in 1997, is more than double the amount of money was put into alternative medicine than traditional medicine. I believe it was like $627 million was put into alternative medicine.
Well, aren't people searching for answers other than conventional? Because remember, 150 years ago, we didn't have narcotics, we didn't have radiation, we didn't have chemotherapy 100, maybe 200 years ago. So there were natural things in those days.
Well, the early doctors were very much of intuitives, and you were allowed to still be connected to your spirit. And I think that's why a lot of people go back to the alternative. Somehow they feel closer to God. They don't feel that in a clinical setting, except for those few doctors. Luckily, there's more of them that are coming around and going, no, we have to treat the whole person. We can't look at them as just part. And that's exciting, because now more people are becoming open. Now people can come back to their spiritual side. They can get closer to God. They can open up to their intuition. They can guide their own life.
But they have to be willing to make that first step.
They have to make that first step.
Beth Carpenter is our guest. We're talking about intuitive counseling and homeopathic, naturopathic ways of dealing with illnesses, and we'll be back. We're talking this morning with Beth Carpenter, who's an intuitive counselor. She's from Austin, Texas. She's also a naturopathic doctor, and she's written a book called The Strength of the Spirit. She's survived 2 different episodes with cancer and beaten cancer with both alternative and conventional means. And you're a story in and of yourself, aren't you? To some extent, you're a success story in and of yourself.
Yes, I am. It was actually through my story. This is my book, by the way, Strength of the Spirit. It was through my story that I did find out.
Let's put it up this way so you can take a look at it.
Okay.
Obi, can you get this? Yes. This is the book called Strength of the Spirit, and if anybody wants a copy of it, why don't we tell them how they can call you directly, because it's not quite ready for local consumption. It will be down the road
soon, but it may not be. People can contact me directly at 512-707-9886
in Austin.
In Austin, Texas, or
and if you're not there, they can get a recorder and leave a message. They can
get a recorder, and I will call them back. There is no problem on that.
Now, what are you trying to say in your book about the strength of your spirit?
What I was doing in writing the book, first of all, was to continue, or to help me with my healing process, to put down what I experienced, because what I found out as I go around and talk to people is that most people would not do what I have done to become healthy.
Why?
Why? Because it seems too much. It seems overwhelming. And it comes down to that they don't want to change their life. They want everything to disappear without necessarily doing anything. And by reading the book, what I have found is that people are literally getting better reading the book. A doctor wrote me, he said, I've got to order 12 books. 1 book isn't enough to go around my patients. And they're getting better reading it. They're feeling encouraged, they're feeling a sense of hope, and they're willing to do something more to help them. So even though it's about me healing, it's about other people healing too. A client of mine who has been suicidal, he said, I know anything can be done. The impossible can be done, and he's doing better now. So it's not just cancer patients that I work with a wide range of people. And
but in most cases, people who are troubled. Or they have trouble of spirit or trouble with body.
Absolutely, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. And what I'm finding is that people are gaining strength in knowing what I went through. They're like, oh, you're alive, you're sitting here, this is great, I know I can do it now.
And you're doing well, you're not just existing.
I'm doing fantastic, not well, I am doing fantastic.
And you go around making appearances and speeches?
Around the world. I go and talk to people, I help them understand the process they're going through, and I can talk about the medical route, I can talk about the nutritional route, I know how it all works.
Because you lived it, that's the difference.
I lived it. I definitely lived it.
Why is it, though, most people won't do what they must do? Is it because they won't give up certain eating habits? Is it because they won't give up certain emotional crutches they have?
Yes.
I mean, what
and they don't want their family or friends to think all of a sudden they're weird. They're concerned about what other people will think about them because they've got to keep this certain profile going. And that's sad because most people live in a box never really knowing who they are in the first place.
They never get outside the box is what you're saying.
That's right. And so you have to push yourself outside that comfort zone. And every time you do, what happens is your world gets 10 times bigger. You have 10 times more help. And that's what you have to look at, is do you want to live your life in a box or not?
Well, most people want to live it in their comfort zone. You know that.
I know that.
I mean, and so the thing is, they can venture out, but they always want to retreat to their comfort zone, don't they? Because they know their comfort zone, as opposed to the unknown is something that can be scary for people, right? It can be disheartening.
Yes, the unknown is very scary to people. It may feel to them like walking that plank, you know, that 2-inch plank, or diving into an ocean. And the thing is,
but see, the thing is, you had to do it because you were faced with death, weren't you?
Well, I could have died. I could have chosen to die.
If you'd stayed inside your box, you would have died.
I will be 40 this year, and I was told I would not see 24. All right? I made the decision to keep going. I didn't know exactly how, and I did ask for help, and I got the help I needed, the right people.
Did you have a mentor or a mentoress?
I had many people that helped me along the path. Some of the people were just for a few moments, and other people, you know, were for years. And I honored and thanked everyone along the way to let them know that I was grateful for their help. And that's what you have to do, is you have to thank them.
Express gratitude, right?
Yes, and gratitude for yourself, for the work that you do, for pushing yourself forward. That's important too. That's very important.
Well, I get back to the whole issue of self-discovery. It can be very threatening for people, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You see, self-discovery is something we don't really want to discover at times, do we?
No. We grow up, and our parents always do the very best that they know how.
With the information they have at that time.
With the information that they have. But they have ideas. Maybe they want you to fulfill their dream of being a doctor because they didn't do it, or being an attorney, or following in their footsteps, or taking over the family business. And if you start to do something that's different from that, somehow you get a talk of, oh, that's not going to be a good profession to go into. That won't last. Somehow you'll be discouraged along your dreams and paths, and so you begin questioning all your judgment. I can't buy this car unless I call my mom. You know?
Yes, or I can't marry this person without checking with my mother and father.
And what happens, I have seen this with some of my patients that I've worked with, clients, and what has happened, some people have literally chosen to die instead of getting a divorce because it wasn't okay to get a divorce. Their parents would be disappointed with them.
So they preferred to die.
And they would tell me,
that was their escape. That was their escape.
And they would tell me in sessions with me that they cannot break this promise. And then in a few weeks I get a call that they've passed on. And so I always know that moment of the decision when they've changed their mind and can't do it. And so what I love to help people understand is start making those choices now. Don't wait till you're dealing with a life-threatening illness, you know. I took my experience and also took the positive from it. I was being guided during my journey through dreams from what I call my angels.
And let's stop right there because we have to take a break.
Okay,
we'll be back with the angels in a moment.
You're watching Borderline.
Beth Carpenter is our guest. We're talking about homeopathic and natural ways of dealing with sickness and illness in our life, and we'll be back.
You're watching Borderline with Bob Gilmartin.
We're talking with Beth Carpenter. She's a homeopathic, naturopathic doctor from Austin, Texas. You were talking about guides who helped you deal with the crises that you've had in your life. And who were those guides that you, as you recall them?
Yes. I had a number of angels. They worked a lot through me, through my dreams as well as waking state. But in particular, what I was going to talk about is while I was dreaming, they were like giving me messages that this was part of my education, because I kept having dreams of being in school, and I kept telling the teacher, I've already taken this class, I don't need to take it again. And they kept saying, no, you're still here, you still have to learn it, this is part of your education. So even though I did go to college, I also got a separate PhD program called Life by going through the 10-year cancer experience.
Does this make you psychic?
Does it make me psychic?
Or
no, I was already psychic. But what this did is it gave me permission to say that I'm intuitive, to say that I'm psychic, because most of us, we are everyday psychic. And we
but we don't practice it though, do we?
We do. That's why there's so many dysfunctional and codependent relationships. I mean, if somebody walks into a room, it's like all of a sudden you can feel if this person's mad or happy, whether they approach you or not. And so we react to these energies, to these feelings, but we're not taught how to understand the energies or the feelings that we experience from a more natural state. And so that's why there's all this confusion within governments, within homes, within cities. Just pick your spot.
We're making attempts at communication, but we're not succeeding very well at understanding one another.
Yes, I think we're making definite attempts at good communication, but when we're coming from so many different directions, it's like we're missing or bypassing one another. And one of the things I teach people is how to understand that intuitiveness, how to understand and read the energies more, so that they can kind of get on the right grid or right track for themselves.
Are most people, though, not living life to the fullest? They're living superficially. They're living just for the senses. They don't necessarily see beyond the temporalities of life, is it?
That's true. And I know I've done that myself in the past.
Well, don't we all have, we're all subject to our senses, because that's what...
Absolutely.
But there's something beyond this, you know.
Yeah, most people, they get up, they go to work, they come home, do some errands, go to bed, get up, go to work, and they just have a routine. And they have forgotten to see more. They've forgotten to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. Notice the trees or the sky or the clouds. And part of being on this planet is being connected to nature as well. And part of nature is the angels, whether they come to you in dreams or in waking states, because they do try to help us.
Can you access them directly? I mean, can you do them? Can you reach them deliberately, or does it have to happen by accident, where you go kind of into your dream? Or... No,
I can access them directly. I work with people all the time, and they want to know information in regards to what their angels say, and I'll tell them something, and they'll go, oh my gosh, I remember when this happened and I didn't pay attention. It's like, well, they were trying to tell you.
Aren't there so many people out there, though, who make it appear that they have this connection and they don't, and they fool people, right?
I'm sure there are people that do that. I do think a lot of people who are very valid are discounted that should not be discounted, because there are certain people that want to keep everything in the structure, because if they keep it in the structure, they feel safe, so they have to discount the people. If they will say, no, this can be a reality, all of a sudden their structure starts to break down and they become frightened.
We have to take a break. Beth Carpenter is our guest. We'll be back in a moment. Beth Carpenter, give us your phone number again, how people can reach you in Austin.
Yes, 512-707-9886.
Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Beth Carpenter from Austin, we thank her for being here. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on Borderline.